easy. Aubameyang, oh brilliant! He took it first time and with devastating effect. Put through by Steve Bold, would you believe it?
I don't want to waste what's left. The storms we chase.
The game, according to the referee, and Bergkamp certainly life in hand.
No, I don't want to waste what's left. And on we'll go.
Henri, what a goal!
Dance through the highways till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go.
He's in again, pushed out by Bartes. Wiltor!
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Blind Gooner. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. Joining me this afternoon is Kevin Campbell. How are you doing, Kev?
Daniel, I'm good, thank you, mate. I've been looking forward to this all day. So finally we get to lock horns.
Definitely, mate. It's going to be listen, I remember last time you come on and it was at the end of February, I think it was.
That's right.
And I feel like lots happened since then. You know, lots and lots has happened. You know, we've had the Super League fiasco. We had Arsenal's obviously nosediving the season, and then obviously, you know, as well, we had the passing of Claude, and yeah, I feel like it's just been one of those since we last spoke. Everything's just erupted.
Yeah, loads of stuff's happening, and obviously the passing of Claude has been quite touching, quite disappointing, quite frustrating, because such a good guy. Many times when we met Dan, Claude was there, wasn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Claude always looked out for you, and spoke very highly of you. And we always had a drink and a laugh, didn't we? Bless him. And it's just so sad, such a sad one that he's gone, mate.
Yeah, it was, and I don't believe in fate, Kev, but Claude always spoke highly of David Rocastle, and it was ironic that he went in the same week as his anniversary as well.
Yeah.
But Claude has left a legacy, and he definitely left a legacy. Whether you like fan channels or not, listen, everyone's heard of Claude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you know what? And when I remember first meeting Claude, and he's a historian. That's what Claude is, isn't he? He's a historian. He knows so much about Arsenal Football Club. And he was constantly asking questions about certain players and certain games, etc. I really got on with him, and I know there's some people who aren't into fan channels, and some people are, but everybody knew Claude. Everybody recognised him, and he's such a sad loss for everybody, for Arsenal Football Club. Yeah,
definitely, and it was nice to see that Arsenal kind of put out a little thing, and then they put it in the match program, and it's not going to be the same going to the Emirates. I mean, I'm going up there on Sunday for the last home game of the season, and it's going to be certainly different. Not seeing Claude at the tube station, and he'll be missed.
Yeah,
I'm sure, greatly missed.
Definitely missed, and I'm sure. A few lads would raise a drink to Claude as well, because Claude knew a lot of people, and it was so difficult to take because so many people never even got a chance to say goodbye. That's the shock of it, isn't it? Nobody gets a chance to say goodbye to him. So such a sad moment, such a sad time, mate.
Definitely, and I feel like if his there wasn't all these restrictions around, I think Claude, his funeral would have been packed 1,000 times over. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
With people, and but listen, everybody, it's one of them things, isn't it, Kevin? It's his legacy and his famous slogans will always live on. The thing I always say is, when you put yourself out there on a channel and you're so enthusiastic about your football team, that will always be there. Those videos will always be there. Whether Claude might not be here now, but his videos and his legacy will always be there. That will never ever unless people decide to remove the videos, which I don't think they will, that will never ever disappear.
No, never. It won't ever. And the passion that he has, and some of the confrontations him and Ty had, were legendary. Do you know what I mean? They go down in folklore. So his legacy is there and imprinted in many people's minds. And I think it's quite fitting. We don't like to lose him, but he still lives on.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one thing I definitely know Claude won't be happy with is that Villarreal game, Kev. We gotta discuss that Villarreal game.
Which one? Oh, you mean the tie?
I mean the tie. Yeah, the two.
Yeah, the two ties. The two games.
The two calamities. But Kev, let's start with the first game away at Villarreal. What happened? Because right from Arteta's team selection, and I saw the team lineup and I was baffled, because he went with this false nine, and I was just, all that I could think was, don't just keep it basic. Don't try and experiment in a European semi-final. I'm all for managers experimenting, and listen, everybody, you've got to try new things out if things aren't working, but not in a European semi-final when our season was hanging by a thread. Listen, it's pretty much done and dusted now that we're out. But I just am a little bit confused, and I'm still confused now, even when I think about it. What's your take on it, Kev?
Well, my take is he played Smith Rowe in the false nine because he wanted to control the game. Because Smith Rowe is a good link player, and that's what a false nine does. He links the play to the midfield, so you could keep possession of the ball. And if you're in possession of the ball, the opposition can't hurt you. But that's all very well in training, Daniel. That's all very well in training. But when you actually get on the stage, the opposition do things that your guys in training don't do. And that backfired on the manager. It did. And not only did that not work, the team didn't turn up in the first half. If I could say this, Daniel, the team never really turned up in both games, if I'm honest with you. But that first half in Villarreal could have seen us three goals behind, 4 goals behind. Well, we were awful. We really needed Xhaka and Partey in the midfield. Xhaka played left back. Ceballos played in the midfield. And a lot of people will realize they targeted Ceballos. They really targeted Ceballos. That Foyth, who was at Spurs, no one's ever seen him play like that. He was running inside where Ceballos would be, because he knew Ceballos was so poor on the recovery. It was an absolute nightmare. But then, the crazy thing, we go 1-0 down, then we go 2-0 down to 2 poor goals. Second half, Leno pulls off a great save, and then Ceballos gets sent off. And then for, 5, 10, 15 minutes probably, we turn up. We turn up, yeah. we get the penalty. Some say it wasn't. I thought it was. There's contact in the box and he goes over. It's a penalty. And Aubameyang comes on, and maybe, a more conditioned Aubameyang maybe could have took that chance. But you know what, Dan? For all the experiment and stuff not working out, we come back, we finished that game still with a lifeline, because you know what? Villarreal could have put us away. They didn't. And we came back feeling a bit better about ourselves, thinking, do you know what? We played that poorly and we're going back to the Emirates. We win 1-0. We're through. We're still in the tie. So, you know, I wasn't too despondent about it. I was gutted that we lost the game, but I wasn't too despondent. I thought we could turn it around when we come back to the Emirates. I thought we could.
Yeah, and I look on the first game, and I think we lost it in the first game. You know, listen, I know we had the second game, but I just felt, from my personal point of view, that Arteta maybe should have just kept it simple, because, you know, he's not got the players to try the false nine. You know, he tried it once before in October against Man City, and it massively failed then. But I just feel like, just keep it simple. You can't look. We all know these players, a majority of them aren't good enough, so that, you know, they struggle with the basics. So trying to get them to play to a new system.
So what would you
just
have done
for that
Dan?
game? What would I have done? I would have.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I probably wouldn't have played Ceballos. I probably wouldn't have played Chambers as well. Like I think Chambers was getting absolutely roasted in that first game. But I would have at least had one of our recognised strikers on the pitch.
Like who?
For that game.
Like who?
I would have put Aubameyang in there. I would have, honestly.
He couldn't. He'd only just really got off the hospital bed, Dan. You couldn't do it. He couldn't last. He couldn't. I don't even think he could play 45 minutes. And this is the problem. You see,
but you got Lacazette, you got Martinelli.
But he wasn't fit. He weren't fit. Lacazette wasn't fit. And remember, Martinelli isn't a striker, and he's not. And one thing he's definitely not. He's not a link striker.
I just feel that we with that system, I would have stuck with the system that he's played for a majority of the system. But for the season, sorry. But I just, look, it was the biggest game of our season. You know, everybody will say that, he should have just played it simple. But I don't know, like, I just felt that he was trying to overcomplicate things. And for me, we saw in those, especially in that first tie, we saw his lack of experience as a manager in that tie.
Well, you know what? He got it wrong. 100% he got it wrong. But for me, it's sometimes it's difficult, because when you don't have your recognized strikers, and you know it's going to be a possession-based game, because that's what it is against the Spanish teams, especially away from home. Having no disrespect, because I know Martinelli's a good player and he's going to be a big talent, but Martinelli isn't a link player. You're not going to have enough of the ball to be able to use his attributes enough early on in the game. So the philosophy of it, I get it, because he wants to be able to keep the ball. He wants to be able to link, but that never worked out. And that system works perfectly with Lacazette in it, because Lacazette is good with his back to goal. He'll link the play, and then we could get moving. But when you don't have Lacazette, even Aubameyang ain't great at that. But Aubameyang couldn't play because he was only just coming back from his malaria. So should he have taken a chance on Martinelli? Some could say, yeah, he should have taken a chance on Martinelli. But he felt Smith Rowe would have been the best opportunity. It didn't work out, Dan. But you know what? We were still in the tie coming back to the Emirates. We were still in it. Win 1-0, we go through. That's important.
Yeah. And at the Emirates, I feel like it was a missed opportunity at the Emirates, because we created nothing in that game. I think Aubameyang hit the post twice, and that's all we really created. But other than that, we created nothing. And And especially, I think it was after about 25 minutes, Chukwueze went off. I thought we got a real opportunity here because Chukwueze was causing us so many problems. And I just look at it and I just think, why aren't you even Kev, right, in the last 10 to 8 minutes of the game, we didn't have enough urgency. We were just passing the ball backwards, sideways, not really getting it forward. When it's time to kind of just lump it into the box and hopefully somebody gets on the end of it, we weren't doing that. We were still trying to do this possession, sideways, backwards based football, and it didn't work. There was no urgency.
Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. Who you lumping it up to? You got Lacazette's your striker. You got Pepe up there, and you got Martinelli. Who you lumping it up there to? This is the problem, you see, Dan.
I'm all for that. I understand that, but
Dan, at least if you're going to lump it up there, you got to have somebody who can win the ball. Do you understand what I mean?
I understand what you're saying. I just feel that if he was to lump it up there and, if we were to get it forward, one of that Martinelli's pacey, he would have got onto one of them balls. He might not have scored, he might not, but I just feel like at that point we needed to listen. Nobody wants to do that long term in a game, but in the situation where we were in, one goal,
it changes everything.
Like I said, we would have gone through. And also, Kev, I looked at their keeper. He was absolutely horrendous. If we put him under pressure, I'm pretty certain we would have capitalized on one of his mistakes because he was absolutely awful. And I just feel we didn't test him enough. We didn't put enough pressure on the keeper in and around the box.
Dan, I agree with you 100. Can you believe it? I agree with you. As far as I'm concerned, Dan, when they came out onto the Emirates pitch, the Arsenal players should have been saying to themselves, if we go out, there's going to be blood on this pitch. There has to be blood on the pitch because we're going to give them as hard a game as they're ever going to have. We went out with a whimper.
Yeah,
we did.
We
went out with a whimper. You're right. Aubameyang was the only one who had a couple of chances. He done well. One second half where he headed it could have gone the wrong side of the post if it was in our favor. But let's be honest, Dan. We weren't good enough. They were comfortable. Villarreal came, the dodgy keeper and all, and we went out with a whimper. Now, the manager carries the can, and the players have to carry the can. Because you know what, Dan? When you're on that pitch, there ain't nothing the manager could do. You've got to perform. Semi-final, all you need to do is win 1-0, and you're through to a final against a rival from the Premier League. And we fluffed our lines. We didn't turn up yet again. And we've seen this team not turn up before. And in the most important game of the season, they never turned up again, Dan. It was poor.
We've seen it all season, haven't we? Our home record this season has been poor.
Yeah, well, no, it's not been poor. It's been horrendous, Dan. It's been horrendous. But what I'm saying is we've seen this team not turn up in finals. We've seen the team not turn up at the Emirates previously. And our record at the Emirates, my goodness, horrendous, absolutely horrendous. So, again, I totally understand there's people against the manager and say, he can't motivate this team. But if you need motivating in a semi-final, something's wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, you should listen. If it's a European semi-final, you don't need the manager to tell you that. You don't need to, the manager to tell you that it's a European semi-final. If you can't grasp the enormity of the game and what it means to win, then we've got problems. But I just would you have hooked Aubameyang off, Kev? Because I looked at that as being a massive decision. would you have hooked him off or would you have left him on? You know, he just hit the post twice. He looked probably like the only player that if anyone was going to score, and you know, if a chance falls to anybody, you want it to fall to Aubameyang. I know he's had a poor season, and I've maybe not necessarily been as critical of Aubameyang as some other people. I actually think when you create as far chances as we have over the course of the season, when you look at the games we've played and you look at the fact that part of our problem is we don't create enough chances, our top striker is going to dip in form. So I look at it like that. But would you have hooked him off, Kev?
Well, again, would I have hooked him up? Probably not. But when you got Lacazette to come on, because if you're gonna fill the top end of your team with strikers, so Martinelli was on. Let's say you kept Aubameyang on, you kept Lacazette, you brought Lacazette on, you got Pepe on. Who do you take off? You take off a defender. So therefore, all they need to do, and sometimes this is. We want throw on strikers because we've got nothing to lose. But if the worst happens and they break, which they broke a couple of times and nearly scored, you've got no chance. And I understand Aubameyang's health is probably most important here. I know it's a semi-final for Arsenal, but it's his first game back really starting. And it was 80 something minute. For me, I asked him how he's feeling. But maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Aubameyang came off, wasn't happy. But if we're honest, Dan, we just weren't good enough. We could talk about keeping Aubameyang on. Aubameyang was on for 80-odd minutes. We just weren't good enough. You know, we just weren't good enough. And we made adjustments. But as a team, I think Granit Xhaka getting injured in the warm-up, it summed us up. That summed us up. Where Granit Xhaka is not my favorite player, but he's been one of the better players this season, and he's out. So again, we're hamstrung. We just weren't good enough, Dan. And do you know what? I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not making no excuses, Dan. We weren't good enough. From the manager to the players, we weren't good enough.
We weren't. And you know, and I try and look at it with a balanced point of view, but I just think I think both the manager and players need to take responsibility for this defeat, you know, and it's interesting you talk about Granit Xhaka because I'm surprised that Arteta hooked him out of midfield. You know, I'm surprised, you know, him and Partey okay, yes, listen, we know that Granit Xhaka...
best too. Yeah, they've been our best too.
You know, when you're relying on Granit Xhaka, who's not great anyway, but him and Partey have been our best too. I just feel with Thomas Partey does need some support in there.
Of course. In
that midfield. You know, I kind of... When he does the whole loan thing, he doesn't really. He struggles a little bit. He needs somebody as good as him.
That's the problem. He can't do. Yeah, Dan. He can't do it all. You need help. They call it the engine room. They don't call it the engine room for no reason. The engine room is what drives the team, what pushes the team up and down that pitch. That's where it all begins. And if you've only got one player in there against two, sometimes three, we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle. And do you know what? Something's happened with Cedric after the Slavia Prague game. Because ever since the Slavia Prague game, we've not seen him. He's not started. He's not played a minute.
Yeah. No, I find it a bit weird with Cedric because he was doing all right up until that point.
Yeah, made a mistake against Slavia Prague, but maybe something was said after the game, Dan. That's the only thing I could think of because normally you'd say, all right, Cedric, you go left back. Tierney's not fit. You go left back. Granit Xhaka, you and Thomas Partey in midfield. then you got no problem. But he went Xhaka fullback and Ceballos in midfield
Yeah, because you
in
can't.
the first game.
It can't just be based on a mistake. Because if we're going off Arteta picking his teams based on players that have made mistakes, to be honest, the majority of the team wouldn't get in the team. Do you know what I
No,
mean?
but that's why you're right, Dan. But that's why I said something must have happened. Something may have been said. There might have been an argument. You know, obviously we don't know because we're not on the inside. But for someone who has been a really good deputy to get no game time, don't make sense.
No, it doesn't. Well, listen, we are out of the tie, and obviously that's it for our season. 2 games to go. It looks like for the first time in 25 years we're going to be out of Europe. Where do we go from here, Kev? Where do we go? Because there's been a lot of talk of the change in ownership, and we know that that we had that Super League, which it was that whole thing was like Arsenal's season rolled into 48 hours. Do you know what I mean?
It's a fiasco, isn't it? It was a fiasco.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. Look, what's going to happen is this. So remember, there's been protests which have been very good, but the ownership's going nowhere. The owners are going nowhere. They're very wealthy people, and they're going nowhere. They're not. It's not changing. So, for all the protests, we need them to step up to the plate. Dan, whether you like them or you don't, we need them to step up to the plate because we need to clear the decks. Because for 5 seasons now, Dan, it's not just this season. For 5 seasons, we have not qualified for the Champions League.
Yeah.
And that is the goal at Arsenal. Minimum. But we haven't done it. So if you keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, they say that's the first sign of madness. So what we've got to do, Arteta was brought in for a reason. He was brought in to sort out that dressing room because the dressing room are the ones who got Emery sacked. That dressing room needs to change. The culture needs to change. And whether you like it or not, they've impacted that and it want Mikel Arteta to implement it. Whether he can do it for next season, Daniel, I don't know. But they're going to have to back the manager in the summer. They're going to have to back him. Because if they don't, he's a dead man walking. Yeah, and that's it.
I know a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I've said that this team needs at least 200 to 300 million spent on it. If we're gonna go and get real quality to try and improve this team, and they're talking about getting into the Champions League next season, and I believe that maybe having a season out of Europe might benefit us. I know a lot of people are probably going to scream at their screens going, what on earth are you talking about? But actually just focusing on the league might benefit us. Having less distractions. I've seen a lot of people going, is it better to go into the, this Europa conference? No, I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that.
Dan, what I will say, just to add to that, and I'll let you carry on, Chelsea, a richly assembled Chelsea team, never qualified for Europe. And Liverpool Football Club never qualified for Europe a few years ago. Was it 4 years ago? And they used it as a catalyst to improve. This is what we have to do. That's what we have to do. We have to use it to really improve ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely do. And that's why I said that we need to, the club, the owners need to pull out the checkbook and spend big. They need to spend at least 200 to 300 million. But, Kev, the problem is we've heard all this before.
I don't think they'll do that, Dan. I don't think they'll do that, but I think they will. I think they will make funds available, but it won't be 200 to 300 million. Not in one window.
We've heard all this before, though, haven't we? They're going to spend money and they're going to invest in the team, and then we only end up buying one player.
Yeah, but Dan, we have bought players. We have bought players. Over the last 10 years, Arsenal are the 5th biggest spenders in the Premier League. What have we got to show for it?
Nothing.
So that means the recruitment is bad. That's what that means. And for 9 years, we've said Arsenal need a centre-half and centre midfielder, probably longer. And Mikel Arteta had one summer, and he's the only one who's tried to address it. So, again, if we keep doing the same things, Dan, nothing's going to change. So that's why it needs clear the decks. The decks have to be cleared. And do you know what? Maybe another marquee signing might help. But do you know what we need, Dan? We need guys who are going to come in and fight. That's what we need. Because on paper, our squad looks decent, but they're not doing it on the pitch. So therefore, if they're not doing it on the pitch, give me scrappers. And you could sprinkle in the quality with them. Get me scrappers, guys who are going to scrap and fight. That works for me.
Yeah. I agree, Kev. We definitely need to, look. Part of the problem is signing the wrong, the wrong type of players. But I just can't help but think, the Cronkies have said all this before about, we're going to invest, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and nothing's come to fruition. And I stand by what I said a couple of weeks ago. We're never ever going to win the league under the Cronkies. We're never ever going to challenge for the top titles under the Cronkies because they don't have the passion and desire to get us there, and that's part of the problem. This is why
Dan, you might be right. Dan, you might be right. But you know what we have to do, Dan? We have to get the club in a better position. Because if the club doesn't get in a better position, no one's going to be able to buy it for what they want. So it works both ways. If they're owners who want to sell, the club has to be in a better position because at the moment, the price of the club is going down. But if you want to sell the club, or you've got designs on selling the club, you want the club in the best position that it can be. So the club have to improve. So if you're going to improve, you have to change personnel. You have to.
Yeah. I've got a comment here from Anish. He said, which club, in your opinion, is managed most efficiently in Europe?
Most efficiently?
Yeah.
Wow. Which club? Do you know what? One of the most efficiently run clubs is Leicester. It's Leicester City. Because they get as much bang for their buck as anybody. If we're honest, there they are. They're in the top 4. Yeah, they missed out. And you know what? Leicester's not a fancy club. A few years ago, was it 5 years ago, whatever, they win the Premier League. They pull that squad apart, and then they go again. Now, great. They look. Thomas Tuchel and his Chelsea people are raving about him. Brendan Rodgers, who many people turned their nose at Arsenal, he goes and beats them in the final.
Yeah.
So
do you know the thing?
They're a well-run club.
You know the thing with Leicester, and I look at Leicester, and the one thing that they do is their owners are always in touch with the fans. They're always there at games, and and I think it's, for me, I've said it's okay. Yes, partly it's about spending money, but you can spend money and sign the wrong players, as we've found out.
We've done that.
But
yeah.
The biggest thing for me is just showing that they care. Like, even how often do we see the owners at games? And I know Stam's hardly ever at a game. Occasionally Josh might be at the games, but how often is that? And the thing that struck me, Kevin, when they did the fans forum, I was sat there and I was like, I would love somebody to ask Josh to name our starting 11. Do you know what I mean? I'd love somebody to go, can you name 11 players in this Arsenal team? Because I guarantee you probably wouldn't even be able to name 2 or 3.
Well, Dan, you know what? And this is par for the course of us leaving Highbury. Because the football club wasn't changed to be a business. Once it turns into a business and they start running the club like a business, that fan connection goes. And the fan connection has been gone for a long time now. And I mean a long time. Arsenal Football Club's culture has been to win. That isn't the culture at the football club anymore, Dan.
No.
And it hasn't been that way since we left Highbury. So, and don't forget, the Cronkies weren't the owners then. They were shareholders, but the football club changed philosophy. And we need to get that winning mentality back. Now, we want them out. Here's the crazy thing. We want them out, but we want them to invest. It's crazy, isn't it? The same people we want out of the club, we want them to go into their account and start writing the checks. Big checks.
I mean, I personally, Kev, I look on it and think, whatever the Cronkies do now, in my opinion, that it's like a it's like a bad relationship, innit? Too much has happened. I feel like nothing, they can't repair this damage. Especially with the whole Super League fiasco. For me, they just showed their hand. And for me, there's no coming back from that, because always in the back of your mind, there's, certainly I'm going to be thinking that, when's that going to come up again? Because it will rear its head again. I think they will try again. I think Dan, the first time was just a tester to test the water, but it's going to come back again.
Dan, that was a shot. It wasn't a shot at the Premier League. That was a shot at UEFA and the Champions League. Because remember, Arsenal, they're not saying that they will leave the Premier League. It's the Premier League who are saying we'll kick you out. That's the difference. You see? That's the difference. But I'm telling you now, what they done, they didn't need to do it then, because they went off half-cocked. Which billionaires don't do things properly? They always will do it properly, but they done that to get to UEFA to reformat the Champions League. That's why they done it. And it will come up again. 100% it will.
It will.
But you know what?
Of course it will.
But you know what? We need to be producing, not looking at a handout, well, Arsenal get ported in. No, we have to earn. We have to earn it. So if we're going to earn it, we need the owners that we're protesting against to go in there to write the checks.
Yeah.
Sometimes, Dan, you can't write this stuff. It's crazy, but it is what it is. And that's what we need from them.
Yeah, we definitely need that, Kev. And I look at this situation with the owners and especially now, because obviously you've got Daniel Ek waiting in the wings. Well, listen, we're gonna. If you read his last statement, then it's he maybe just bottled it a little bit. But do you think do you think now if the owners are gonna, if we're gonna force these owners out, do you think now is probably the best time to do it? Because I've said for a long time that if they don't sell in the next 18 months, they're never gonna sell.
Here's the question, Dan. Why would they sell? Why?
Because their Super League bid failed. They're super.
No,
They obviously wanted
you've
to
already said,
franchise.
but Dan, you've already said it will come up again, and it will. Something's going to come up. Something's going to change. And if you're the owner of the Arsenal Football Club, it took them quite a while to get hold of the football club. I don't see them there how they're going to relinquish it now. No way. No way. Unless they get a bid that they can't refuse. And in order to get a bid you can't refuse, the team's got to be doing a lot better. The club's got to be doing a lot better than it is.
Yeah.
So
and obviously they ain't going to accept. What was it? Daniel X bid was 1.8,
1.8, wasn't it? 1.8, 1.9.
1.9.
Yeah. They laugh at that. Thanks, Dan, but no thanks. You know what I mean? Listen, these people are serious businessmen. These people are multi-billionaires. It's taken them time to get hold of the Arsenal. Yeah, we have come to a crossroads now, Dan. In their ownership, whether we protest or we don't, we have come to a crossroads in their ownership. Now we're going to find out how serious they are. Because maybe they never saw this coming, but now it's on us. So now we're going to find out how serious they are.
Yeah. And that's the thing. There's a lot of pressure. You know, there was pressure before all of this, but I feel like now there's more pressure. And, you know, there's pressure coming from all angles, not just the fans, but ex-players. And, you know, I think maybe it was a smart thing with Daniel Ek maybe calling in the legends that he did, you know, 3 of the biggest legends in the football club to kind of, maybe they're looking at that and going,
yeah, support him. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they're looking at that and going, wow, do you know what? We've got to really pull something out of the bag this summer, or it's not going to end well.
Well, do you know what, Dan? Possession is 9/10 of the law. They already own it. So Daniel Ek can get as many legends on side as he wants. They own the football club. But again, we are at the crossroads where we need these guys to invest and invest properly. So we're going to find out. It's a really important summer for us. Really important.
Do you think Daniel Ek will come back in with another bid?
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters because they're not going to sell. I seriously think they're not going to sell. So,
you know, because he's saying that he's in it for the long haul and all that. But then when you look at his statement that he put out a couple of days ago, when you read the end of that, when he said, "Oh, I'm here if the situation changes," it kind of suggested that he tried and he's not really gonna.
No, but there's only so much he can
go
do.
Back in.
Dan, there's only so much he can do, because remember, it's just like, you know, you having something that I want. If it's worth £300 and I'm offering you 300 quid and you're saying I'm not selling, what can I do? I can't do anything. I said, I'll give you 350. You tell me you're not selling. You know, all I can do is say, listen, if you're going to sell it, let me know. That's all he can do. So for all the hullabaloo and all the shout, it's another false dream.
Yeah. I guess.
It's sad.
I guess we're going to hear.
Sad. It's tough to take, but it's sad.
It is tough to take, Kev. You know, our club is certainly not what it was, you know, at Highbury.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the question, Kev. Who's to blame?
Who's to blame? Well, look, when you're dealing with hierarchy and you're dealing with people who have sold shares, don't forget we had Usmanov who wanted to take control of the club. Okay, Kroenke wanted it, Usmanov wanted it. Usmanov was happy. Listen, I'll inject up this amount of money for transfers. I'll do this. He couldn't even get on the board, Dan. So it's the people in the boardroom who made sure Usmanov couldn't get it, and they made sure Kroenke got it. And now, Dan, now the chickens have come home to roost, because now we're stuck with ownership who don't feel the club, who we feel are taking the piss. That's what they're doing. That's, as fans, that's what we feel. They're taking the piss because they're saying, get ready and be excited and all that. There's nothing exciting. What's exciting? So again, they've taken the mickey out of us. Now the protests have started because of obviously the European Super League fiasco. And now we're at a crossroads because our football club is regressing. And we need change. When really, 2 years ago, 2 and a bit years ago, when Arsene Wenger left, if ever we were going to go and get that experienced manager, they were going to back him, that was the time. But they never made that move. They got Unai Emery. Emery come in, who's an experienced manager. They never backed him properly. And the dressing room got him the sack. And now here we are, down the line, we're in this summer and we're at a big crossroads. And the fans want them out. They're not selling. So what they're gonna do? Do you know what, Dan? We might as well play bingo because we don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. See, people suggesting they want the trio of Wenger, Dean, and Pat Rice back.
Well, I can't see it happening. Not happening. Not happening. And look, and I know sometimes you look at it and you think, God, all these people are in the right position, but it's that ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. Don't forget, we weren't qualifying at the end of Wenger's tenure for the Champions League anyway. So 5 years snapshot, we haven't qualified for the Champions League. And that was Wenger, Emery, and Arteta. So we have to do something different. We can't keep trying to do the same things. We've got to do something different.
Yeah, no, I agree. Kev, I want to talk to you about Vinay, because obviously he made himself a bit of a scapegoat by coming out of the European thing, and then he tried to rejoin it. And do you think Vinay is the right person to have as chief executive?
Well, he is for them.
But personally, for you,
mate, you got to remember, Dan. Vinay is not a decision maker. The owners are the decision makers. So I could say I want Monchi or someone else. I could say whoever, but they don't make the decisions. It's the owners who make the decisions. I know it's tough to take, because we could look at the whole hierarchy. But the bottom line is there's one decision maker and one decision maker only. And that is Stan Kroenke.
But you say they're the decision makers.
No, decision maker.
Yeah, you say the Kroenke's the decision maker, but I honestly believe this, that you've got, whether it be, before Vinay, it was Gazidis. I'm pretty sure that he went to the Kroenkes and said, listen, I want to get Granit Xhaka. And the Cronkies, obviously, I don't genuinely believe they know a good player from a crap player. And I think they've just gone, all right, yeah, if you think he's going to improve the team, there you go. Here's the money for it. And this is why I'm asking
who was manager?
Vinner,
But
Arsene Wenger.
Right. So isn't it up
Arsene
to the
Wenger.
manager to work out who he wants? That is how it's got to work, Dan. We can't say all of a sudden, Vinay, when who brought Granit Xhaka in? So you got N'Golo Kante or Granit Xhaka. We got Granit Xhaka. The manager has a say in that because they all have to sit round and think, right, okay, what's the list of players that you want? You write down your list, and then it's their job to try and get number 1, number 2, number 3 on the list if you can. Our problem is, Dan, we haven't been in the business of recruiting the best players. We haven't.
Yeah. Yeah,
and Dan, it's hurtful.
It is. It is very hurtful.
It's hurtful when you look at our squad and you look at the players that we could have. Look what you could have won. Look who you could have had at the football club. Arsenal haven't been moving like the club that they are for a long time, unfortunately, Dan. And listen, Vinay, he gets caught up in that hierarchy because of his position. But he's no decision maker. He gets told what to do. Sorry, but he could do his job, but he gets told what he can and can't do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's hard to take, Kev. I guess with
Dan, it's painful. Do you remember me and you had a conversation about this a few months ago, and I said, there's more pain to come, Dan. This is it. We're going through that pain, and now we're at the crossroads. If we don't do the right things now, we are going deeper into pain. We're going deeper.
Yeah, there is.
And we can't afford it. As fans and as a football club, we can't afford it. So the Cronkies, for all of the protests and everything, they're gonna have to write them checks. And we're gonna have to be ruthless, and we're gonna have to move smart, a lot smarter.
Yeah. Listen, guys, remember to hit the like button. Please smash the like button and subscribe if you are new. So Kev, let's come on to the summer business. Who would you sign then? We know that David Luiz is leaving. I saw a comment from Anish, I think it was a few comments back, saying, are we going to see Saliba next season?
100% Saliba. Saliba and Gabriel have to be put together next season.
Yeah.
No question. Them two have to be our starters.
But who else would you look to buy? Because I've seen a lot of reports, reports linking us to Basuma from Brighton. I think that would be a really good signing.
I'd get Basuma in. I've said it all season. Basuma's the one. Thomas Partey needs a sidekick in that midfield. Someone who can get about the pitch, who's athletic, who can put his foot in, who can fight. Granit Xhaka is not the greatest, but you know what? He's done okay this season, but he's not athletic. He can't get up and down the pitch. That's been our problem. We need athleticism in our team. We need to be more mobile and flexible. And Basuma gives us so much, I believe, in that midfield. Look, we could look at, there have been some rumors about a Jack Grealish. I'd love Jack Grealish. I'm sure many Gooners would love Jack Grealish. Is it happening? I don't know. But that will take a serious check from the owner.
It would. Jack Grealish, I think they're targeting him, and I think it's about 80 million.
Well, if they're going to be spending that sort of money, then we know we don't love him, but maybe we would like the move. You know what I mean? We don't love him, but we like that move because he's a serious player. Buendia. Talk of Buendia. Talk of Dembele, Musa Dembele.
I really love. What's your thoughts on Buendia? Because a lot of people, I've seen it mixed, but I like Buendia as a player. But can he do it? Can he do it as a step up? Can he step up to that next level?
Well, he done assists. He was pretty good on assists when Norwich were in the Premier League last season. So, in a better team, I think he could function in our team easily. I reckon he can.
Yeah, I think so, and but definitely Jack Grealish. I would love Jack Grealish at Arsenal. If it's just whether it comes back to the board, whether they're going to put the money.
It's the owner.
The owners.
Never mind the board. It's the owner. The owner's got a bit. Listen, we don't like him, but you know what?
And for me, that would be.
If he wants to build a bridge, Dan, think about it. If he wants to build a bridge, he's got to get his checkbook out.
And for me, that would be a big name signing because I think Tony said in the comments here, how would you feel if we couldn't attract any of the big name signings?
If we couldn't attract any of the big name signings,
because the problem is, Kev, as well. Don't forget that we're out of Europe, so that might have a bearing on what players we can get because players want Champions League.
Yeah, but do you know what, Dan? Let me just say this. Players might want Champions League, but Arsenal are a big enough draw. Trust me. When Chelsea didn't get European football, they had no problem recruiting. When Liverpool didn't get Champions League football, they had no problem recruiting. Arsenal will have no problem recruiting. The key is the type of player we get in. That's the key, is the type of player we get in. And you know what? Not every signing has to be a superstar. We need players who can come in there and do their job.
Yeah.
Fight for the badge. Fight for the team. I'd much prefer a team of fighters than a team that we got now that look at the paper and we believe we're better than we are and then go on the pitch and don't perform. Give me a team of fighters. I'll take a fight.
Yeah. Who, Kev, do you think we need another striker?
Listen, it all depends on whether Lacazette's going to stay. Because don't forget, they're trying to get Martinelli. They're trying to build Martinelli up to eventually be that striker, I believe. Now, if we're going to lose Lacazette, then we need a striker. Because we've seen things happen to Aubameyang this season. And if he loses form, we struggled. We struggled. We haven't had the output from the strikers that we usually get. And if we'd have got half of the output from our strikers, would have been challenging for a Champions League spot. But the fact of the matter is, we didn't. So that's something we have to address. We do have to.
Don't forget, we got Balogun as well.
But he's a kid. He hasn't started one Premier League game, Dan. We can't put it all on him. He's a nice addition, but we can't put it on him.
Yeah. Who would you get, Kev, as a striker? Who would be your, if we could get one, who would be your ideal, realistic target? I know people will probably.
Well, it's not a fair question then. Ideal and realistic. What's the budget? Come on, Dad. Come on, Dad. What's the budget? Because if you're going to get realistic, what's my budget?
Okay, so say hypothetical. Say we got 200 million.
No. What's my budget for a striker?
Budget for a striker?
Yeah. What's my budget for a striker? Because you know what? That 200 million, if you use 200 million, will get eaten up very quickly. because there are positions of the team that we need to strengthen desperately. Right back, midfield, attacking midfield, another cover for Tierney at left back. You know, we need a couple of players in that midfield, by the way. We do. We need a couple of players. We need a good reserve that if anyone gets injured, they can come in and do the job. So, you know, the likes of Buendia, they're not going to come cheap. He's a Premier League player now.
Yeah, no, the thing with... Do you know the problem is, right? Yeah.
Hold on, Dan, I'm not letting you off the hook. Tell me my budget for a striker.
Your budget, 90 million.
90 million for a striker. I look at Europe, you know, and I look at strikers, and I'm thinking, who do you get who's ready made for the Premier League? There ain't many. And then you look in the Premier League and you think, okay, who could I nick? Who could I say is a player who I could get? Obviously, the main striker who we now know is who wants out is Harry Kane, but he's not going to come to us. And
he ain't going to us.
And 90 million, you might just get his right leg. Do you know what I mean? So
let me tell you, Daniel Levy is no way selling him to us.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, you know,
about that.
90 million. Listen, you could look at. I look at somebody like. I tell you what, I look at somebody like Tammy Abraham, right? And I'm saying to myself, he's Chelsea's top scorer. And he's not had a kick. He's young, he's an England international. He scores goals, he's big. He's someone who you could put crosses into the box. He could edit, he could hold the ball up, he can run. He gives us something different, Dan, something that we don't have. And he knows the Premier League. He's played in the Premier League. He's an England international. So, you know, and maybe listen, you've put it on me now. But but you understand, somebody like him is something that we haven't got. Aubameyang, he's not the greatest in the air. He's not as great with his back to goal. Tammy Abraham could do all of that. So maybe just off the top of my head, maybe a Tammy Abraham coming in could help us. Although we need players elsewhere as well, of course. Yeah,
we definitely do. Kev, what would I know we're getting on with time and stuff. How are you doing for time?
Yeah, another few minutes, Dan, mate.
Yeah, that's cool. But I want to quickly ask you, because I've seen it pop up in the comments. Eddie Nketiah, would you think it's time to move him on now?
Got to move him on. There's a few lads who have been on the periphery, because I think Eddie's a year older than the likes of Saka and all these guys, 1 or 2 years older. It's not quite happening, and we've got Balogun coming now. So we're going to have to move Eddie on and give Balogun the opportunity. That we have to be smart how we move, and we have to be ruthless. If we fancy Balogun more than Nketiah, then Nketiah, thanks for everything. We've got to move you on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we should move him on. I'm just going to rattle through this because I know we're getting pushed for time. We got 2 games to go in the season. We got Crystal Palace, and then obviously the Brighton game. 10,000 fans in the stadium. How do you think we should approach this?
To win,
especially that Brighton game, Kev. When fans...
simple to win.
No, but I mean, what I mean is, I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'm not just looking at maybe winning the game, because even if we win the game, it's just pointless. There's nothing to it apart from 3 points. But I'm looking at that Brighton game. Fans, we've had a voice through the last couple of weeks, but we're really going to get our voice 10,000. I'm going on Sunday. How do you think we should approach that game? In terms of the bigger picture.
What do you mean? As a team?
I mean, in terms as a fan base, we spoke quite a lot about getting our message across.
Dan, the message is already got across. Finally, the fans get to go back in the stadium. And yeah, the team has let us down all season, but do you know what the bottom line is? We're all Gooners, Dan. We're all Gooners. And the team are going to need the fan base more than ever now. And yeah, there will be changes, but you know what? It's been a long time since everyone's been in the stadium. So go and support the team as best you can. And if it's a bad performance, obviously you're going to let them know it's a bad performance. But let's not have it too hostile. Let's make it hostile for the opposition. That's what we want. We want the opposition trembling.
Yeah. Kev, score predictions for the last two games just before we end the show.
Crystal, the Palace game. I think we'll beat Palace 2-1, and I think we'll beat Brighton 2-1. 2-1 both games.
Wow. Yeah.
Typical Arsenal.
That's great. Exactly. It is typical Arsenal. Listen, Kev, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. We've really enjoyed today's show, and it's I know you've been pretty busy, and it's been a long time coming, but yeah, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Dan, thanks for having me on. Like I say, like you said, I've been busy, but as soon as this window opened up, I had to contact you and let you know, and we had to do this because our nice little season review here, mate. Great to be on with you.
Yeah, and it's nice. Listen, it's nice that we, there was lots to talk about. There was lots to go over, and I think we've covered it all. And listen, guys, thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Remember to hit the like button on your way out. Do subscribe if you are new. And Kev, what's I know you're over there at the Highbury Squad. What's coming up over there at the Highbury Squad over the next couple of days and weeks?
Yeah, well, the next couple of weeks obviously is the end of season's coming. So if we talk about this week, there's a new link with Mike the Gooner podcast coming up on Thursday. That should be a good one, really good one, with Rebecca Lowe out there and myself. It's a Q&A. Obviously, there's there's a show tonight. There's a post-game show tomorrow. And there's Kev Says on Friday, which is obviously just before our final game, which is Sunday. So it should be pretty interesting week.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, do head over and check all of that out on the Highbury Squad. Listen, guys, I'm going to end the show now. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. I know that especially here in the UK, we've got a few more freedoms, restrictions and that, but just stay safe and look after yourselves. And until tomorrow, take care, guys.